Today we're going to be going over the test from March 8th. What I would recommend doing is pausing the video at the beginning of each question, letting your student go ahead and answer the question while it's paused, and then go ahead and finish watching the rest of the video so you can see the correct answer and how to solve the answer. There are 642 students enrolled at Mountain Elementary School. The principal wants to give each student 12 pencils at the beginning of the school year. Each package of 12 pencils costs 99 cents. What is the total number of pencils that the principal must buy? The first thing we need to notice is what the question is asking us. The question is asking us what is the total number of pencils that the principal must buy. So what we don't know is we don't know the total. Okay, and we're looking for the total number of pencils. So if we don't know the total, our operations can either be multiplication or addition. Because if you already know the total, you would do division or subtraction. But in this case, since we already know the total, it's got to be either addition or multiplication. Our next thing that we have to understand is that this 99 cents isn't important to the question. We're not worried about the price of the pencils. We're just worried about the total number of pencils. One more thing that we have to notice in here is this keyword each. So we have two parts of a problem. We have the information and then we have the question. If each is in the information, more than likely it is going to be multiplication. If each is in the question, more than likely it will be division. But in this case, since each is in the information and we know that we're looking for the total, it's going to be multiplication. And what we don't need is this 99 cents. So we have 642 kids. And each kid needs 12 pencils. What we don't need is we don't need to know that there are 12 pencils in a pack because we're not looking for the total number of packs. We're looking for the total number of pencils. So to multiply this out, we're going to go ahead and do the box. We have 642 times 12. 6 times 1 is 6 with 3 extra zeros. 6 times 2 is 12 with 2 extra zeros. 4 times 1 is 4 with 2 extra zeros. 4 times 2 is 8 with 1 extra zero. 2 times 1 is 2 with 1 extra zero. 2 times 2 is 4. When we add up the total number of pencils that we're going to get based off our multiplication problem, we would get 7,704, which would be answer choice D. Question number 2. Ella finished the bike race in 37.6 minutes. Miranda finished the race in 9 1/10 minutes sooner than Ella finished it. How many minutes did it take Miranda to finish the race? Once again, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and underline the question. How many minutes did it take Miranda to finish the race? So we have two things here. Ella finished the bike race in 37 6/10 minutes. Miranda finished the race 9 1/10 minutes sooner. So in other words, she finished it 9 1/10 minutes quicker. So if you're finishing something quicker, you should have a smaller number. For instance, if it takes person 1 10 seconds to run across the football field and person 2 ran across the football field 3 seconds quicker, they would have finished it in 7 seconds. So the smaller time is actually the quicker time. So if they finished it 3 seconds sooner, we actually have to subtract. So what we need to do is we need to take these problems and ask ourselves the same problem with different numbers, with smaller numbers that we can use in our head to figure out what operation we need to do. Now that we've decided that we're going to subtract, because we have to find out what her total time was, we need to look at our numbers. We have 37 and 6/10 and 9 and 1/10. Now, if we say both of those numbers, we're saying them both in tenths. But when we look at it, one of them has a decimal and the other one is a fraction. We can't do a decimal and a fraction together. So what we have to do is we have to convert them into the same thing. We either have to put them both in decimals or we have to put them both in fractions. And the way to tell which one that we're going to put them into is we're going to look at the answer choices. When we look at the answer choices, they're all in decimals. So we don't need to change the decimal one. We're going to go ahead and change the fraction. So the first thing we have to do is we're going to say Ella finished in 37 and 6/10 minutes. So 37 and 6/10 minutes. We already have that. And now we're going to subtract. We're going to subtract 9 and 1/10. So how we're going to write 9 and 1/10 is we have 9 wholes and 1/10. And from there, now we can subtract the problem because they're both in decimals. 6 minus 1 will come out to be 5. We can't take away 9 from 7, so we have to borrow. 17 minus 9 is 8, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So what we did was we took Ella's time, which is 37.6. We took off the 9 and 1/10 minutes because that's how much quicker Miranda finished it. So we know that Miranda finished it in 28 and 5/10 seconds. So that answer is not here. So what that's telling us is the answer choice is J, not here. Question 3. John's toy airplane flew 71 feet, and Robert's toy airplane flew 157 feet. Which number sentence could be used to find how much farther in yards Robert's airplane flew than John's airplane flew? So the first thing we're going to do once again is we're going to go ahead and underline the question. And the question is going to say, which number sentence could be used to find how much farther in yards Robert's airplane flew than John's airplane flew? So as you see here, none of these answer choices are asking us to solve. It's not asking us to solve for an answer. What it's asking us to do is find the key words and see what operation that we're going to have to do. So the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is look at this keyword. How much farther? How much farther or how much more tells us we are going to subtract. And students should be marking these down on their paper. How much farther? How much more? We're going to circle it and we're going to draw a line that tells us to subtract. So just by looking at this, we can already go ahead and cross out one of the answer choices. And that answer choice would be C, because it doesn't have subtraction in there. Our next step is we're going to look at what the question's asking us. We have to find out the difference or how much farther it is in yards. But what we notice about the given units is that it's 71 feet and 157 feet. So what we have to do is we have to turn these feet into yards. And the important thing that we have to do is we have to look at our star reference sheet. And what that would tell us is 1 yard equals 3 feet. So when we look at our reference sheet, the unit that has the 1 with it is always going to be the bigger unit. So yards would be bigger than feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little b under yards, because since it has the 1, that means it's the bigger unit. And I'm going to put a little s over here because feet is the smaller unit. So we have to turn this from feet to yards or from smaller to bigger. And if we're turning it from smaller to bigger, our operation would be to divide. On the other hand, if it was bigger to smaller, we would be multiplying. But in this case, since we're going from smaller to bigger, we are dividing. So we're going to go back here and look. So we have division and subtraction. So maybe we have subtraction and multiplication. That's not what we're looking for. And we have subtraction and division. So maybe. Now we've narrowed it down to two options. We've narrowed it down to subtraction for how much farther, and we know we have to do division because we're going from feet to yards. So we have two operations that are division, subtraction, subtraction, division. Now we have to look at what the question's asking us. First off, to find out how much further John's airplane flew, we have to subtract the two units. We have to subtract the 157 feet and the 71 feet. So that shows that we're doing that right here. Once we have the amount of feet, then we can turn the feet into yards, or then we can divide by 3. So our answer choice would be D. Already, just by using our clues from the question, we can narrow it down to two options. But what you have to know is that first you have to subtract the feet, and then you're going to have to change the feet into yards. Question number 4. In a school auditorium, there are 33 seats in each row of seats. How many rows are needed for 528 students to each have a seat? So we want to reference question number 1 for this problem, and we'll see the importance of the keyword each. So once again, most of the time, if each is in the information part of the question, it's going to tell us to multiply. If each is in the question, then we're most likely going to divide. In this case, this is where the question starts. We have each in the question. So that would tell us our first instinct should be to divide. So we're going to go ahead and take 528 divided by 33. And if we don't know our 33 tables, that's okay. What we can do is we can just add 33 plus 33 would make 66. So the next number would be 66. Then 99. If we don't know what 99 plus 33 is, we can add. $132. Okay, then we're going to have 165, 198. So now that we have a division chart table set up for us, we can go ahead and divide. So the first number we have to find on our chart is 5, which would be before 33. There's 0 numbers up here, so we're going to go ahead and put a 0. A 0 times 33 makes 0. 5 minus 0, still 5. Drop the next number, and we have 52. So our next number that we have to find is 52, which would be in between 33 and 66. So right here, we have one number above it, so I'm going to put a 1. 1 times 33 makes 33, and then we're going to subtract. We can't take away 3 from 2, so we have to borrow. 12 minus 3 is 9. 4 minus 3 is 1. And then we can bring down the 8. Our new number we have to find is 198, which is right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 33 was 198. And that comes out to 0. So our answer would be 16. We would need 16 rows for each student to have a seat.